Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror anthology movie review video as part of my current March 2024 series, where I'm taking a look at a number of different horror anthology movies from my overall collection and reviewing them here. So, today we're going to take a look at a horror anthology movie that I have actually seen before. I saw it about 3 or 4 years ago off of Shudder. Got the DVD a few years ago, but had yet to watch it until this review for this series. And that movie is Nightmare Cinema, which I have here on DVD. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get into Nightmare Cinema. So, Nightmare Cinema is a 2018 American horror anthology film featuring the work of directors Alejandro Brugues, Joe Dante, Mick Garris, Ruhei Kitamura, and David Spade. Five strangers converge on a haunted movie theater owned by the projectionist. Once inside, the audience members witness a series of screenings that shows them their deepest fears and darkest secrets over five tales. So yeah, that's sort of the wraparound or the premise here of this anthology movie. So I'm just going to kind of go through a quick synopsis of all five stories, who directed them, the cast in them, and then I'll get into my review. So the first story that we get called is The Thing in the Woods, and it's directed by Alejandro Brugues. So it's a postmodern send-up of slasher thrillers involving a killer who is not what he seems. And the story stars Eric Nelson, Sarah Withers, Kevin Fontini, and Chris Warren. So then the second story is directed by Joe Dante, entitled Morari is the name of it. A woman with facial scars seeks plastic surgery at a sinister clinic. And this one stars Richard Chamberlain, Zara Mahler, Mark Grossman, and Belinda Belaski. The third story is entitled Mashit, directed by Ruhei Kitamura. A Catholic schoolgirls become possessed by a demon of child suicide. And this one stars Maurice Bernard, Stephanie Cood, Callista Bess, and Marilla Garaga. I'm sure I'm butchering a lot of these names. The fourth story is entitled This Way to Egress. This is directed by David Slade. A woman waiting for a doctor's appointment experiences disturbing shifts in reality. And this one stars Elizabeth Reeser, Adam Godley, Ezra Buzzington, Browyn Merrill, and Patrick Wilson. No, not that Patrick Wilson. I don't think anyway, unless he's in disguise here. And then the fifth and final story is entitled Dead. This one's directed by Mick Garris. An adolescent piano prodigy dies, is revived, and under attack from supernatural forces. This one stars Folly Rakotohaven, Annabeth Gish, Daryl C. Brown, Lexi Pantera, and Orson Chaplin. Sorry about the butchering of the names. So yeah, that's kind of the setup and the stories for Nightmare Cinema from 2018. 2019. I've seen it listed as both, but I'm going with 2018. That's what was on Wikipedia for my notes. So, this is a pretty good horror anthology. Not perfect. I have my issues with it. But I enjoyed it. I remember kind of liking it the first time I saw it, but of course I wanted to give it a rewatch, which I have now a few years later. So let's just get into the things that I liked about it first of all. So, the best thing about this movie has to be the idea or the premise that the movie has of these five individuals stumbling upon this. It is like a nightmare theater. It's like a very nightmarish atmosphere. This movie theater, this Rialto, and then watching their deepest fears play out on screen, starring them. Very much like a nightmare dream. That's just a really creative and cool anthology premise to introduce the individual stories, in my opinion. So, to me, that's the best thing about this movie. I just absolutely love that premise for an anthology and getting us into the stories about, like I said, stumbling onto this nightmare cinema, as the title would suggest. and then having all these individuals see their deepest fears play out in stories, and they're the only ones in the audience watching them. So very cool premise, really like that. I have to say, I like all five of these individual stories to a certain extent. The fact that they, I'm sorry, I should say that I like that all five of these individual stories touch on different subgenres of the horror genre, be it a slasher, a supernatural, a demonic possession, body image horror. They all kind of touch on different subgenres, and I think that's a really nice, well laid out variety of a lot of giving different aspects of horror, and it makes for a fun watch for this overall movie. So I really appreciated that. The movie does have quite a bit of gore, especially in the first, the third, and the fifth segments. I would say a lot of blood and violence as well, especially in the third segment where it gets to be a little bit over the top but fun. There are also some cool visuals, good practical gore effects, good performances throughout. Well, for the most part, throughout. It makes for a pretty competent and fun horror experience, frankly, overall. You can tell there's a lot of time and money put into most of these stories. It's not low budget. They had some money at their fingertips and utilized it pretty well. So yeah, a lot of credit given for the technical aspects here. The comedy in one of these particular segments really worked well for me. I had a really good time with it, as it basically winks at the screen, winks at the audience or the viewer. That segment also was paced really well and had a really unique and cool twist. And I'll get into what that segment is as I get into the five individual segments here. None of the segments are terrible or unwatchable. All have some good things about them, some better than others, of course, and some really hit me more and I liked more than others, of course, but none of them are just like terrible. And then finally, I really liked Mickey Rourke as the projectionist. I thought that was pretty fun, and you can tell in his performance that he's having fun with that role and the type of movie that he's in. So those are kind of my pros. As far as the cons go, I wanted more from the wraparound. As cool a premise as it was, when you have Mickey Rourke, especially, I felt like there was a missed opportunity there, given the cool setup and premise of it, but it never really fully delivers as much as I thought that it could have. It kind of left me wanting, especially at the end, more from that idea, that wraparound, those characters, namely Mickey Rourke. So that was kind of disappointing. I think the pacing's kind of off throughout the whole movie. Some segments are paced much better than others, like the first segment that I mentioned, or the comedy segment. I guess I just gave away my spoiler there on which one I liked the best, but others not so much though. So as a whole, not quite as cohesive as it could have been as a horror anthology. There also is some bad CGI thrown in here for effects at certain points throughout the movie, although they do use a lot of practical effects too, which I appreciate, but I couldn't ignore the CGI. The final segment, not surprisingly the one directed by Mick Garris, falls pretty flat, especially in comparison to the other ones. Not the best way to end the movie either. If that's going to be one of your segments, I really think that should be your second, third, or fourth, kind of in the middle. They open the movie really well with the first segment, but then it kind of goes out with a whimper. You want a stronger segment to go out with, I think, for an overall better movie experience. Overall too, I'll have to say it's a bit long for a horror anthology. It's about 2 hours. 119 minutes, about 10 or 15 minutes too long in my opinion. Again, a lot of it goes back to the pacing that I was talking about. Like the first story's fine, the second story's fine, the third story I thought was a little long. The fourth story's fine, the fifth story I thought was a little bit long. So yeah, it's just kind of uneven and unbalanced there. They should, in my opinion, and again, this is going to show you my ranking of these 5 stories, but in my opinion, they should have cut the final story and added more to the wraparound, so had 4 stories and a little bit more of the wraparound. I think that would have made an even better horror anthology, but that's just my opinion. I know there's a lot of people that like that 5th story directed by Mick Garris, so we'll get into that. Now that I'm going to take a look at these 5 individual stories, try not to give too much spoilers, but then do my ranking of them for Nightmare Cinema from 2018. So first we'll start with The Thing in the Woods. This was my favorite one, if you can't tell already. This really has a lot of fun with the whole slasher genre. It kind of spoofs it. You have a lot of the typical tropes that you get in slashers, but it does it in a way that it still works. I mean, it still pulls it off as a slasher itself, while having a lot of winks and nods at the screen. And I just really enjoyed this one. The pacing, it's really fast paced, really good, like upbeat, not upbeat, but like energetic, fast paced, and so it really made for an easy watch. The only thing that's not great about this is the acting is definitely the weakest in this one. You have a lot of younger, unknown actors and actresses, and well, some of it is serviceable. Like I thought the main girl was fine, the final girl, fine on the eyes too, by the way. Um, but but the acting overall just wasn't great in this one. So, but I really enjoyed this one for what it was, and as I said, it has a great twist that I didn't see coming. On the throw a different kind of a different I don't want to say a different twist on the twists of a slasher movie, but that's kind of what it does. It kind of goes against your expectations, and so that's why it's my favorite. It just got a lot going for it. The second one, entitled Morari, of course, the best thing about this one is it has Richard Chamberlain in it, which is kind of weird to see him in a horror anthology, but he's great. I really like him as an actor. And this one also is very relevant. I mean, it touches on a lot of fears and a lot of societal themes about trying to be perfect, basically having your skin perfect, having a perfect body type, plastic surgery, and all that. And of course, it does it in a sinister clinic environment to fit the horror aspect of it. This one's not overly scary or anything, but I did think it was effective for what it was going for. Mashit. This is the demon possession one, having to do with the Catholic Church and all the tropes that go along with that. This one's kind of slow to start out with, but it does have a batshit crazy, over the top gore fest at the end of it. That's what I remember best from this one, and it does have some pretty creepy imagery and makeup effects too. The fourth one, The Way to Egress, is probably my second favorite, just because it's so stylish and so well acted, especially by Elizabeth Reeser, who I really like from The Haunting of Hill House. She plays the mother in this one. It's just so stylish, and it's got some really creepy imagery in it. I mean, some of the people around her end up morphing into like these just really weird morphed faces and stuff. This is also one that I think it touches on a lot of current themes about possibly depression and some mental illnesses and things like that. But yeah, I really like this one for the acting, for the style, for the imagery, creepy. And then the fifth and final one, in case you can't tell, is my least favorite, directed by Mick Garris. Surprise, surprise! If you watch my channel, I thought the acting was fine in this one, especially by Annabeth Gish, who's the mother, and even the young man. I thought was fine in this. It's just that it starts out interesting, kind of, and then it really peters out towards the end of it, and just kind of ends abruptly in a way that wasn't all that satisfying for the little bit that it set up here. And once again, another Mick Garris letdown, in my opinion, with the supernatural forces in play and everything. So, if I had to rank these, obviously The Thing in the Woods, number 1, This Way to Egress, number 2, I'll say Morari, number 3, directed by Joe Dante. Mashit would be number 4, just because it takes a while to get to the good stuff. And then Dead would be number 5, directed by Mick Garris. In my opinion, that would be how I rank them. But overall, guys, I mean, you could do a lot worse for a horror anthology. Like I said, overall, I just feel like this could have been even better, that there were missed opportunities there, and maybe one story too many, the fifth story. I think 3 or 4 stories and a stronger wraparound would have made this a stronger overall anthology. But I can't argue with the fact that there was really a lot put into it, a lot of care and time and money put into it, and so for the most part, I think it came off pretty well. And I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 for Nightmare Cinema from 2018. Go ahead and comment down below what you guys think of Nightmare Cinema, if you've seen it before, if you like it more than I do, less than I do, the ranking of the 5 stories in your opinion. Comment down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for this series. And please be sure to subscribe to my channel as well so you don't miss any of my great horror content, not only the rest of this series, but what I have coming up throughout the rest of 24 and into 25. I got a lot of great horror content coming. So, with that being said, I hope you guys are enjoying this review series. And as always, stay scared. Bye.